What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY and the overall market. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. So as far as the market's going, I just want to mention that Tesla stock has a possible left shoulder, head, and right shoulder that's been forming for the last couple of weeks. And the problem is that Tesla was not able to hold above 465 to continue to rally. Instead, we're selling off towards 450. I did mention that looking at the setup, I was expecting some downside upon open, but this is a little bit worse because now we're just barely holding 450. So what's going on? The whole market started to reject as we got some new data. So when I was looking at the economic calendar, we didn't really see much data that was coming out for today due to the government shutdown. But it turns out the Chicago Fed decided to release some data. They're telling us, after all, that the U.S. jobless claims rate went up in October to the highest in 4 years, as the hiring rates for unemployed workers slowed and the rate of layoffs and other job separations increased. Overall, the regional bank estimates that the unemployment rate climbed to 4.36% last month to about 4.4% when rounded up. So overall, that's a big increase in unemployment, and that's not the best of news because the U.S. economy is taking a hit as a result of higher interest rates, and now the Fed is being signaled to continue to cut on policy, not because they want to, but because things are beginning to look worse for the labor market, right? And that's exactly what we heard from Lisa Cook and many other Fed speakers, that there's bigger risk for the unemployment sector right now. The labor market has bigger risks than inflation in their personal opinions. That's what we're hearing so far from the Fed. So that's why the market came down quite a bit. At least that's one of the reasons. Tesla still has the shareholder meeting later on today. But keep in mind that despite that, we are going to be very, very cautious with this setup. So with Tesla, we're watching to see, is this going to be a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder? And if we end up losing like 450, and if Tesla in the market continue to sell off, then there is a risk of us seeing Tesla come down to fill this gap over here, the gap back down to like 435. But at the same time, you could also argue that when you look at the white line, we're bouncing, and bouncing off the white line. So we could continue to uptrend off this white trend line and continue to push higher if we keep on bouncing from here. So I believe it's important to watch this very closely. Looking at the head and shoulders, though, I am going to be very, very cautious with Tesla, especially approaching the shareholder meeting. And we'll see what kind of reaction we get, if we get some kind of sell off or not. So be very careful. With the overall market, we sold off quite a bit, but there are buyers trying to defend 672 on SPY. So we're barely holding support right now. We need to hold 672 on SPY. If we don't hold 672, there's going to be a risk of us dipping back down towards 670, then 668, or even below those levels for like 665. Those are going to be your three main supports. Watch 672. We need to hold that by close. If we don't, there's a risk of further downside. I do want to mention the downside is evident because when you look at the daily on the QQQ, we also have a gap down here at 610. So we need to hold 616 on the QQQ. If we don't, we're watching 615 as our next support. We're barely holding that 615 to 616 area. And if it doesn't hold on the QQQ, there is the gap down here to fill at 611. So be very, very careful. There is a gap below. We're going to see if we come down to fill the gap or not. But for now, we'll just be very careful with the QQQ. The Russell 2000 is range bound right now. We have support down here at this 241 area and resistance at 245. We might be dipping to 241 and we'll see if we bounce. ES is on a downtrend right now. We're going to be looking for 67 as our support. We're going to see if this holds. If not, we could be dipping lower. So be very careful. We're just barely holding support. On NQ, we're making lower highs here. We're going to see if we reclaim 25,500. If not, we could be looking for 25,272. So watch that very closely. Bitcoin's on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to see if we reclaim 104,000. If not, we could be tipping towards 101,000. Tesla is in the middle, but there is some downside risk looking at this head and shoulders. We haven't lost critical support yet for confirmation, though, to see if this is going to truly pan out. I think we're still waiting for the shareholder meeting. But with the market selling off, I do want to warn you to be careful. Nvidia's on a downtrend. There's also this gap down here at 186. Are we about to dip to fill this gap? We're barely holding this support right here at 192, which happens to be at the 20 EMA on the daily. If that doesn't hold, though, there is these there are these gaps to fill down here. And if Nvidia comes down, that could also drag the market lower. Apple's trying to bounce. It's holding up decently. I think we just got some good news, but we need to hold 269. As long as that holds, we're looking more bullish on Apple, so it's outperforming the market to some extent. Palantir's on a bit of a downtrend. Unless we hold up of 189, we're going to be favoring 178 as our target. AMD is also range bound between 255 as our resistance and 240 as our support. We're going to see if we dip a bit lower, and then we'll see what happens after that. For Coinbase, we're on a bit of a downtrend. We could be dipping back down towards the low 300s, and we'll see what happens. Amazon has support right here at 245. We're going to see if this holds. If not, we could be dipping towards 242. Meta is also showing some weakness. We were supposed to push for like 650. We came just short of that, hitting 644. And now we're dipping again. We could be looking for a retest of these lows, if not 620. Google also pushed a bit only to reject, so it could be retesting 281. And then Microsoft is barely holding 500. We need to hold 500 or else 498 is very possible, and then 495. The market's holding support, but just be careful because in case we do sell off again, 672 is critical support on SPY. As of right now, we're holding it, but we'll see if that lasts or not. And then for the QQQ, the same thing. We need to hold that 615 to 616 area. If we don't, there's a big gap to fill below. And if the market dumps more, that could also drag Tesla down. We have our critical support at 450 on Tesla, which aligns with this trend line. So the white trend line is where our support is right here. We need to hold this. If we don't, we could see Tesla start dipping to much lower levels. It's like the 445 area or even the gap fill in the 430s. So we got to hold 450 on Tesla, not just right now, but also after the market closes. We need to hold these levels, or else there is a risk of more downside on Tesla stock, because we're going to see what happens with the shareholder meeting, what kind of reaction we get on Tesla. So be patient, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Unfortunately, we got some negative news that came out of the blue, and sometimes that happens. So that's the important thing about the markets. Sometimes unexpected things can happen, but just watch your levels, be unbiased, and just know that there is weakness for now, and we're just waiting for the shareholder meeting for Tesla. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for listening, and peace out.